Hey everybody, it's Old Guy. Welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, thanks for stopping by. Well, day's finally come, the time is here. We are hitting the road. Heading to Texas, leaving in the morning, taking the Goldwing. Goldwing has been serviced. I got new fluids, new filters, new tires, so we are ready to go. So in today's episode, I'm gonna show you some tips, tricks that I've learned along the way, that I always do. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll have better ideas you can suggest to me down in the comments. So let's get started. Now, I had every intention on taking my camper, my Timeout Deluxe, as you can see here, but I've changed my plans. One thing you're gonna know about me, once I start traveling, get on the road again, I tend to change my plans last minute for various reasons, but for this time with the camper, I was planning on going to Texas Hill Country, riding Twisted Sisters and staying there for like a week, bringing my bicycle, riding the motorcycle, doing the whole thing. I've changed my plans because the weather looks like it's going to be good while I'm there. So while I'm there, I want to get down to Big Bend National Park on the border down by the Rio Grande. Most of the time when I do all my traveling, it's in the summer, and it just gets entirely too hot for me to be down there later in the summer. So while the weather's good and I have an opportunity, I want to get down there and see it. So I'm just going to take the quick camp set that I posted in my last video about, just a tent, sleeping pad, sleeping bag, like that. Do some just quick overnight camps here and there. If I run into some weather, if I happen to be running late, I'll just hotel it. You know, I don't like doing it, but that's what I'm going to do. All right, so now that we have our plan together, let's go get packed. I'll show you what I'm bringing. I'll show you how I pack it, and we'll hit the road. So the way I like to pack is I like to use synthetic materials over cotton and denims. Now, I used to use cotton and denim all the time. I have since changed that to synthetic materials. Here's a perfect example of why. This is 3 cotton t-shirts, 3 pairs of denim jeans. This is 3 nylon pairs of pants, 3 polyester shirts. The size is obvious. The weight is apparent. If synthetic material gets wet, it dries a lot quicker than cotton. So if you're looking to save some space and you're not already using synthetics, look into synthetics. I got my clothes picked out. Another thing I like to do is I like to pack my gear in vacuum seal bags. Again, it's great for saving space. It keeps your stuff dry. I realize I have hard bags on my bike, so it's probably a little redundant about worrying about being dry, but vacuum seal bags are a great space saver. A lot of people ask me this. I don't know why people can't picture this, but a lot on fanboy sites when I suggest using vacuum seal bags, a lot of people go, well, you can use your vacuum at home, but how are you gonna vacuum seal them when you're on the road? I don't know why people do this, but they ask all the time, so I figured I'd make a video and show it. You just seal the bags up, like so. It says pass it 3 times, and there's a one-way valve on these things. You just push the air out. I mean, it's a lot easier with a vacuum when you're at home, but when you're on the road, you just squeeze all the air out. Very easy. And so 2 weeks of clothes becomes a little small bag, saves you a lot of space, fits in any saddle bag, and you're good to go. One thing I should note, you can get these vacuum seal bags on Amazon or any department store. These ones I got at Walmart. They're easy to find. They're all over the place. So if you're looking for vacuum seal bags, they're out there. Okay, so let's talk about riding gear. My helmet is a AGV carbon modular helmet. It is about a pound less than my old showy Niotech. Not the Niotech 2, the Niotech that was the original one. It is much louder as far as air noise and buffering. It's not really a big deal on the Goldwing that I have the power windscreen, but if you don't have a power windscreen or you have a bike that doesn't have a windscreen or a fairing or anything like that, it's loud. I am happy with it as far as the weight goes. My neck doesn't get tired, but I probably wouldn't buy it again just for a simple reason is, like I said, it's loud. My boots are BMW Pro Tour boots. These boots are about 10 years old now. I was planning on getting city boots to replace them, but I wore them last fall during a rainstorm. I think we were getting remnants of a hurricane from Florida, whether it was Irma or Ida, I don't know which one, but it was a driving rain. Winds were about 30, 40 miles an hour, and I rode up and down the coast, so you know I was getting as much rain on me as possible, and my feet were dry. They were warm. They were great. So I kept them. I'm using them. I'm going to keep them until they don't work. Now onto my riding gear. I started out with the Climb. I got about 1.5 years ago to replace older gear that I had, Olympia gear that didn't fit me anymore. I got this, it worked fine for me for a couple months, but I lost like a substantial amount of weight. It didn't fit me anymore. And one thing you gotta learn about good gear, if you don't know it already, you want it to fit on you well so the armor stays in place in case you get into a crash situation, and that wasn't the case with this. I still use it in the winter when I'm all layered up, bulked up, and I have all my heated gear on. It works well for me. You've probably seen me wear it in other videos. So I saw an opportunity to get some new gear, and I went out to Duluth, out to the Aerostitch Roadcrafter factory, and I tried on a bunch of gear because I wasn't sure what I wanted. I'm glad I did because there was a big difference in it. I was going to get the R3 Light, but it is a different type of material. It's not this Credura. It's more of almost like a thick raincoat material. I'm very clumsy. I tend to bump into things, so I was worried that I was going to rip it and tear it and it wasn't going to work right for me. So I went with the R3 because it didn't have a liner. I was standing in Aerostitch's factory there trying them all on, and I had the Roadcrafter with the liner in, and I was sweating just standing in office there. So I didn't think it was right for me. I thought I'd be sweating in the summer. So this is going to work better for me when it's warmer out. I will tell you that the Klein is better vented than the Aerostitch. I'll tell you that right now. As far as the Aerostitch, you have vents under the arms, you have a vent along the back, and there are side panels that you can unzip to let air in through that way. Whereas the Klein, it has vents along the arms, it has vents along the chest, it has vents along the legs. It's a lot better. But I have worn the Roadcrafter out to about 95 degrees, and as long as I'm moving, I'm okay. So this is my setup. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get good riding gear that's gonna work well for you. Myself, I'm not a fan of leather. My experience, it's hot. When it gets wet, it stays wet, it's heavy. When it gets cold, it stays cold. I never really liked leather. I know there's a lot of people out there that like leather and will argue their point for leather, and if it works for you, that's fine. But I'm just saying, get yourself riding. You'll save space on carrying rain gear. This comes up all the time on my travel pages, guys debating rain gear. If you have proper riding gear, you don't need rain gear. Even if you're not getting higher end stuff. Try like Tourmaster is great, affordable gear. Olympia is really good, affordable riding gear. I wore Olympia for years. So when you're riding down the road, instead of having to pull over and put rain gear on, you can just zip up your vents and you're good to go. The gear is made to be worn, so you're not gonna sweat or get overheated, even if the vents are closed for a short period of time. Even if you gotta open it a little bit while you're riding in the rain, you're not gonna get that wet. My experience with rain gear, whether it be Frog Togs or Harley rain gear or any other kind of rain gear, it's just basically like putting a hefty bag on. You're riding down the road, it's 90 degrees, it's raining cats and dogs, you have a hefty bag on, you're sweating like a pig. Once you pull over to get that gear off, you're wet anyway, like you've never worn it. So I've always thought rain gear was a waste. Plus, if you're riding a Harley Davidson, and I know you Frog Tog guys know this stuff, if that rain gear gets in contact with that exhaust, it's melting, it's falling apart. Also, if you get into a crash situation, rain gear doesn't help you. Rain gear is gonna fall apart. If you have proper riding gear, it's made for that stuff. It's better materials, you have armor, it's gonna do what it needs to be done. So if you haven't thought about riding gear, think about riding gear. Okay, so last on the list is gloves. Now, I can't really comment as far as what the best gloves are, or because I go through a lot of gloves. Here's a pair that I currently wear. These are Revit H2Os. I got them because they were supposed to be waterproof. They're not waterproof, but they are armored and they are padded just in case you go down. You'll instinctively put your hands out like this so they have extra leather and padding in the palms. And if you roll or fall or scrape, they are armored over the fingers so it'll keep your hands from getting all torn up. So you'll know the gloves I can recommend, and I've spoken about this in other videos, is I have Goldwing heated gloves for when it's really cold out. I used wired gloves. All my heated gear is wired, like I pointed out in other videos, because the rechargeable stuff, it's been my experience, doesn't work as well as the wired stuff. It doesn't last as long. It doesn't get as warm. So if you're looking for heated gear, once again, my advice is get wired gear. It works so much better. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me this week. Thanks for watching. If it was your first time here, thanks for stopping by. If you like what you see, give me a little thumbs up. Subscribe. Hit the little notification bell. Also, find me on all social media. I'm A-Hole Cop all over the place. Remember, if you haven't been watching since January, you're a new subscriber or you're a new viewer, this is going to be my first solo motorcycle trip. I used to travel a lot by motorcycle, cross country. Got out of it about 5 years ago. This will be like I said, this will be my first trip, so it should be interesting. I'll be posting updates. I'll be posting shorts, so keep an eye out for those. I got the bike all gassed up. I'm all packed up. I got all my gear on. So there's nothing else left to do except hit the road. And away we go.